We know scientific facts exist. We know historical facts exist. Bob, we also know that moral facts exist. I've never had a professor, when I've made the following statement, disagree with me. It is wrong to torture puppies for fun. Everybody knows there are things we ought to do and things we ought not do. When injustice is done, we know that it's unjust because it's not the way it ought to be, because we have some sense of oughtness, right?
Yes. Okay,
so we
there you
just
go.
start with the scientific, historical, then go to moral facts, and then we begin to just ask the question, so what is the nature of that truth? If it's possible for us to know truth, how do we know it? Well, some things we can know through reason. We can know, for example, it's 3,000 miles or so from New York to London, and even if you believe the continents touch and you're flying, you should still take enough fuel to go for a 3,000-mile journey.
Certainly.
Right? So we know that that's so. We also know that if I were to jump off of a tall building, feeling like I could fly, I will go down because of gravity, not up, even if I have a strong sense of upness, in my approach to life. So the question really then is, if we know there is something out there that is true, that's true for everybody, everywhere, all the time, where do we go to find it? And we have to go beyond reason to revelation. And that's where the biblical worldview comes into play. So I don't often get that long to explain it, but that's sort of the approach.
That was good. Yeah, very good. Because I think we do need to be convinced, we need to be convicted in our own hearts that the Bible is true. The principles that we find that God has given us in order to guide our lives, that they are true. And if we believe that they are true, then that is going to produce action in our lives that's consistent with that truth.
Yeah, and there are a lot of ways that you can know that the Bible is true. You can first of all look at its external verification. You can look at the fact that it's internally reliable. It has been transmitted accurately through time. We can see that what the Bible says happened. Archaeology can discover whether or not those people existed at those times and places and verify that internal truth. But we can also look at it historically, Bob. What does it look like lived out? The principles of science are largely based on a biblical view of the world and not of other worldviews. In order to do science, you have to believe that the world actually exists, that it is knowable, that you can do an experiment at time A, an experiment at time B, and you're talking about the same world. There are other things about it. It's valuable to know. That's not something that's common to most world religions. A lot of world religions say the world is irrelevant or the world is even an illusion. So you look at throughout the course of history and you realize it's no wonder that 52 of the 52 people who were the founders of modern science, all but one of them was a Christian. Only one was an atheist.
Yeah, that's interesting. Dr. Jeff Myers joining us today, President of Summit Ministries, here on the Meeting House on Faith Radio. It's the 2022 National Religious Broadcasters Convention in Nashville. Well, you are speaking as part of a panel on biblical worldview under attack. So as we look at the challenges to the biblical worldview, and there are those that want to really eliminate a Christian worldview perspective. And of course, you've written this book about cancel culture. I believe it's an ebook that you offer through Summit Ministries.
If you just Google Summit Ministries, cancel culture, the ebook will come up. It is available for free. You can download it.
Yeah.
But that is an important thing to understand. It's this sense of, in our polling, and I didn't want to get in the polling business, but I did want to understand the cultural moment in which we live.
Sure. We
found, for example, that about 5% of people in America say their response to somebody they disagree with is to cut them out of their life. 5% of people. About 8% of people say religious people should have no right to give their viewpoint in public. Okay, so somewhere between 5 and 8% of the population is strongly anti-Christian. And yet, these individuals, apparently having not enough to do with their time, are really good at posting nasty remarks on social media, getting petitions together to try to get Christians canceled from social media platforms, telling YouTube, this video is hate speech, you need to cancel it, all of those kinds of things. So it's a very small percentage of the population, very cranky percentage of the population, but one that Christians are very much afraid of, and they shouldn't be.